So hello everyone, welcome again to the NextTS course, and now we are going to our class 6, which is creating the table component. Now all the things are starting to get into form. Everything is getting we can touch and we can see everything of our application. Just remember that we are using NextJS framework, one of the a framework that inherits from React, and basically make our pages to act as static pages, because when you can have, as I said in the web, you can have static pages, simple page applications, and dynamic pages. And the static page is the most performatic one in most of the time, because you only load the content that is required through the browser. But anyway, let's go to the class 6. Just remember that you can check out the branch of the class 6 here on the VS Code or whatever the IDE you are using. We are currently on the class 6 under the branch class 6. And basically, if you don't have the link for the GitHub where you have where you can access all the code base, the link is in the description down here below. So let's begin with this class. And basically, the first thing that we are going to do in this class, the aim in this class, we want to finish our table and to fill our table with some demo data. But as we are using Typescript, which is a superset of JavaScript, we need to create a type for this, a type for the custom, for the customer that we are going. As we said in one of the classes, we are going to create a table of customers where we have the name, the last name, the telephone, and the credit card information of that customer. But you need to create a custom type first before this. So I'm going to open new terminal here. I will create a folder through terminal, but you can create in whatever the way you feel more comfortable. I will create a folder in the root path of the repo called interfaces, and inside that interfaces create a new file that is called index.ts. Here is where we are going to create our custom type. We are going to export, and we are going to use type. It will be called a customer. Okay, and then here we are going to add all the attributes that this custom type has. We are going to use _ID because we are going to use this in the future for MongoDB, which has this attribute. Then we are going to put the first name, which will be the first name of the guy. I'm going to use this notation here because it can be optional. Last name, which will be string. Everything will be string here. And then the telephone, which will be string too. Strong, not string. And then credit card, which will be string too. That we could create this type. Effectively, the right way of doing this, would be, we need to put equals here, but the right way of doing this would be export interface customer would be like this. With the new versions of Typescript, interface and type are getting close to each other. The main difference between them is that interface is more to the types that are related to business thing of your application, like ours, and type is more related to data types and to the data structures that you have in your application. So it would be better to use interface, but for that case, as it doesn't matter, we are going to keep with type. And then now that we have the type, we are going to create our daemon data. What is a daemon data? It is basically a pattern. It is basically a sample data that we can access, because as we don't have the database yet and the API yet, we basically don't need, we need to create some daemon data so we can use that data until we don't have the database and another dynamic data. So I will create a new directory called utils, where is going to be placed our file, and just create a file called sample. It will be called sample data.ts. Sample. I will delete this one or just rename. Just create a new file, call it sample data.ts. Okay, here we have. And then, as we have a lot of data, and I don't want to keep to waste time with this, the link to all this damn data is down below here in the description. But you can also access under the class 6, under the branch 6 of the repo. I will just copy and paste here because it's just otherwise we would be doing only like a looping job. That doesn't matter and doesn't contribute anything to us. But we can take a look here. I exported a constant because it's a damn data. It's not going to change, so it's a constant. I gave the name for it. The type is the custom type that we just have created, and it will be array because we want to fill our table with that data. And I basically created a lot. I used some characters like Darth Vader, Han Solo, R2D2, which this course is motivated by Rogue One. And then let's go. We just need now to create a component that will represent a single row of our table. So basically, let's create a component called data row, TSX, and then basically, the first thing that I'm going to do here, it is import. I'm going to import the link. Remember the link component from Next. We use this one for navigating between the pages, the static page that we have. Okay, and then I'm going to import React from React. Oh hell. And then I'm going to import our custom type, import customer from. This is I will import from the interfaces directory, and then I will create the props of our component. If you remember the props, it is what our component is going to receive. It is the type of data that our component is going to receive. As React works through the composition, which means that our parent components can pass properties to the children components. We are just creating a new type props for that, which we represent the data that this component will receive, which as we are creating a component for each single row of our table, this component will receive a single customer. Oh, I wrote wrong. It's customer. Okay, customer. And then I will create a function component. We call it data row 2, like the name of the file. And then there will be the data, and then this will be iProps type, and then it will return a JSX element. Okay, and then everything is good to go. And then we just need to put the return scope of our function, and then I will create a div here, which will be our first HTML tag of all of this component. So div first, and this we will give a class, CSS class here, which will be data row that we haven't created yet, but we are going to go to CSS to the CSS file and fill with that information. We are going to create a paragraph. Okay, the paragraph, and then we are going to use our link component from Next. Okay, but let's just put the link that we want. Why we are using link? Because for each of the rows of the table, when the user clicks on the name of the character of the customer, it will leave you to the new page where you can see the information that is restricted and detailed only for that user. So we want to have to go to this href, so this URL here. It will be customers.id. And then here is S. Those are properties that are required by NextJS. Customers, and here will be this one here, data dot. But we are not going to use the single quotes. Is this another one here? I don't remember the name actually of this one, but is this another one? And now everything's okay. So we are telling that we are going to access on this pattern, but we are passing this specifically. If someone clicks, it will go specifically to this ID of this currently user that I'm clicking now. And then an anchor tab. Okay, everything okay. And here in the middle, we are just going to put the information of the name, which will be data dot first name, and then data dot last name. Great, everything's good to go here. And now we need to put the space for a paragraph. Oh hell, we need to put a paragraph for the telephone. But first of all, let's put the class name here. That will be, this class will be none, which is a class used for telephone. And here I'm going to access that data.telephone. No. And then in the another line, we are finally going to put our credit card. So it will be here. I'm going to create a new CSS class called credit card, and the property will be credit card. Great. Okay, and now I'm good to export this component so I can use it in that on the table. So I'm going to do export default data row. Okay, everything's okay. We can see that everything's okay here. iProps, cannot find the name. Interfaces, not interfaces, is interface only. So everything okay. I will just save this file and rerun the command here, npm run link, that we are going to run basically all the classes just for formatting all the files that we just have created. Okay, everything's formatted and clear. So we are going to go to styles.css and creating those styles that we created. The credit card we created in the last class, we just need to create more too. The data row, which is the most important style of that class because it will represent the outer body of each of the rows. So as we are creating a table, we want to display this as a grid, and then there will be grid auto flow. It will be column and then grid template columns will be one fr. We will have a padding of 0 and 32 pixels and a border top for separating each of the elements, border top of 1px solid. And I'm going to put the normal black color. And then the last class that will be none, that will be for the telephone number on the table. And font family, it will be, you can put whatever the VS Code recommends to you, because this is just a font, doesn't matter now. Now we are good to go to our index page, to our pages and index.tsx. Remember that we have, let me just npm run linked for formatting everything. And now we will just run npm run dev, just to run the project, just to check everything is good to go. Let's follow the link. We are just remembering that we are executing this from the last class, and now we are going to insert the new things, all the new dummy data that we just have created in our table. So we don't have anything yet on the table, but now we are going to insert on the table because we only have the header of the table. Now we are going to insert the data in the table. So here is the header of the table. We basically need to put each of the rows. And as we have a component that represents each of the rows, we will need to iterate to make a loop between all the dummy data that we have and create a component for each of this data, which will represent each of the rows of the table. So we need to use these curly braces here because we are going to create a code inside that, and will be row. But basically here I will need here up above, I will need to create a new const thing. It will be const row data, and will be iCustomer, and it will be an array of iCustomer. So I'll just define the data for the component, but this is the sample data that we just created, the big array of 5 elements. It will be called sample customer data as iCustomer. Remember that we just created this sample customer data in this file here. So we are just calling that directly. And here down below, we are just going to the row data dot. We are going to map this, which means that we are going to do iterate between all the objects of this array. Well, and here we are going to tell to the component what is going to happen with each of those guys. So here I will close. No, we are already closed this one. And now I'm just going to call the component that we just have created, which is data row. And the data will be the customer that has been iterating, and we need to pass a key. The key can be the customer ID. Great. And here we just close the tags, and now everything's good. Everything looks formatted, but just for the sake, for being clear, we are going to run independent. That's the developer feeling. You will never have 100. You will never have 100 confidence in everything that you are doing, no matter how professional you are. And now let's just run npm run dev. Okay, everything's okay here. We can go to our. So if we run the application, so if we go here and run the application with npm run dev, we will be able to access the data. We will be able to see the table. So here is our table. I just have run again. It will take a while, just a little bit. And now we have finally our table. Our table is good to go. We have all the data in our table. We haven't created this form yet and either those pages here, but we already have the table made. And in the next class, we are going to talk about this form here. We are going to create a new component for when you click create a new customer. We are going to be directed to another page where you can create a new customer. So thanks a lot for this 60 class. It was a pleasure to teach and to also share knowledge and also learn with you guys too. And thanks a lot, and see you in the next class, which is the 7th class of the course, which we are going to talk about loading and create a component. And thanks a lot, everyone, and see you in the next class.